Good afternoon, everyone. This video will investigate on the novel's stylistic analysis of Kill a Mockingbird. Okay, moving on, let's now come to the content of this presentation. So, this presentation will explore on the five important things we have. First one, abstract. Second is introduction. Number three is the brief summary of the novel Kill a Mockingbird. Number four is findings and discussions. And number five, which is the last one, is conclusions. Let's now come to the introduction. The abstract. Okay. This research paper will look into the following. First one, the literary devices, the stylistic elements, and literary theory used by the author Harper Lee in her novel. This research looks into the importance of rhetorical devices, stylistic ideas, and literary perspectives in the success of this novel. I, the researcher, believe that the use of these three different tools in analyzing stylistics are significant to study because it greatly contributes to the development of creating this literary piece. Moving on, let's now come to the introduction. Kill a Mockingbird is a novel by the American author Harper Lee. It was published in 1960 and was instantly successful. In the United States, it is widely read in high schools and middle schools. To Kill a Mockingbird has become a classic of modern American literature, winning the Pulitzer Prize. Enormously popular, it was translated into some 40 languages, sold more than 40 million copies worldwide, and is one of the most assigned novels in American schools. In 1961, it won a Pulitzer Prize, and the novel was praised for its sensitive treatment of the child's awakening to racism and prejudice in the American South. So, To Kill a Mockingbird became both an instant bestseller and a critical success when it was first published in 1960. It went on to win the Pulitzer Prize in 1961 and was later made into an academy. So it is an award-winning film and also a classic literature. So this novel takes reader to the roots of human behavior, the innocence and experience, the kindness, cruelty, love, hatred, and humor. Now, with over 18 million copies in print and translated into 40 languages, this original story by a young Alabama woman claims universal appeal. Harper Lee always considered her book to be a simple love story. Today, it is regarded as a masterpiece of American literature. Let's now come to the summary of this novel. Okay. Summary: To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird is set in a fictional town of Macon, Alabama, during the Great Depression from 1929 to 1939. The story centers on Jean Louise, or Scout Finch, an unusually intelligent girl who ages from 6 to 9 years old during the novel. She and her brother Jeremy Atticus, or Jem, are raised by their widowed father, Atticus Finch. Atticus is a well-known and respected lawyer. He teaches his children to be empathetic and just, always leading by example. When Tom Robinson, one of the town's black residents, is falsely accused of raping Mayella Ewell, a young white woman, Atticus agrees to defend him despite threats from the community. Although Atticus presents a defense that gives a more plausible interpretation of the evidence that Mayella was attacked by her father, Bob Ewell, Tom is convicted. He is later killed while trying to escape custody. The children, meanwhile, play out their own miniaturized drama. Scout and Jem become especially interested in the town recluse, Arthur, or known as Boo, Radley, who interacts with them by leaving them small gifts in a tree. On Halloween, when Bob Ewell tries to attack Scout and Jem, Boo intervenes and saves them. Boo ultimately kills Ewell. The sheriff, however, decides to tell the community that Ewell's death was an accident. So, To Kill a Mockingbird is a story which is narrated by a young girl named Scout Finch, who lives with her brother Jem and her widowed father Atticus in the sleepy Alabama town of Macomb. So Macomb is suffering through the Great Depression at the time, but Atticus is a prominent lawyer, and the Finch family is reasonably well off in comparison to the rest of society. So To Kill a Mockingbird is a common of age story about a girl named Scout, like what I said before, with her brother Jem, who tried to understand and relate to her father Atticus, who is a lawyer and charged with depending on a black man who falsely accused of raping a white woman, Mayela Ewell. The main point or the main part in To Kill a Mockingbird revolves around the value of protecting innocence. So in a society where innocence is decided by the skin color and presupposition or based on social status, gender, and other such things, I guess valuing innocence turns out to be a vital part of growing up. Those. So in the academic paper that I analyze and study, these are the elements of To Kill a Mockingbird. So first we go to the characters. So the novel entails, I guess, 10 main characters. The first one is Scout Finch. So she is a daughter of a successful lawyer, Atticus. So she is portrayed as a tomboyish type of girl who stays a symbol of innocence in the society of Macon. The second one is Atticus, a lawyer and good-hearted person. Atticus is also the father of Jem and Scout. So Atticus invites social prejudice and hatred by deciding to help Tom Robinson, a black accused of a crime on false grounds. So Atticus was actually the lawyer of Tom Robinson. The third one is Jem Finch. He is the old brother of Scout and son of Atticus. So he knows that his father is actually helping a black man, Tom Robinson, in his case. The fourth one is Arthur Boo Radley, a recluse. Boo has been portrayed as the mockingbird who is rumored about his reclusive life. So he seems quite mysterious, but he doesn't stay in the public, and yet he has the gift to change the public thinking. Okay. Number five, si Dale, a curious friend of Jem and Scout. So Dale is a very sensitive child. He lies about his father and tries to get Boo out of his to somehow enjoy in the public. Okay. The sixth is Miss Maudie Atkinson. The old widow stays busy in her yard, tending her garden, but stays indifferent to the general public behavior. So Miss Maudie Atkinson, despite these indifferences, she is actually optimistic about the public. The seventh is California, the Atticus caretaker. California brings up Scout and Gem in proper value. So she's very kind and generous even to the animals, and she ensures that the children are understanding and caring for others. Okay. The eighth, Mr. Tom Robinson, an honest and hardworking African American. Tom becomes the victim of racial prejudice and is discriminated against even in the judicial system on account of the color of his skin. So despite the flaws in the witness accounts, he is actually thrown behind the bars to be hanged. So he was convicted of the crime he did not commit. Number 9, Mayela Ewell. She is a witness who accuses Tom of rape and yet could not conclusively prove it. Okay. Although she does not have any witness, she easily uses a mob psychology and turns the community against Tom Robinson. The 10th character is Aunt Alexandra. As the aunt of Scout Alexandra is the sister of lawyer Atticus. She tries to educate California about um, treating and bringing the children in a proper manner. These are the main characters in the novel To Kill a Mockingbird. So let's now come to the next one. The elements of To Kill a Mockingbird. We have now the setting, the conflict, the point of view, and the themes. Okay, so setting To Kill a Mockingbird is set in the small rural town of Macomb, Alabama during the early 1930s. So To Kill a Mockingbird takes place in Macomb, Alabama during 1933 to 1935. So this year's plays the events of the novel within two important periods: the American history, I mean, the Great Depression and the Jim Crow era. So the conflict: Tom Robinson is accused of raping Mayela Ewell, Bob Ewell's daughter, and Atticus Finch agrees to protect Tom Robinson in his case. So the rest of the Finch family is taking racial abuse because their dad is protecting an African American. Actually, the conflict can be categorized in three different ways. The first one is man versus self. So it happens between the sheriff versus um, himself. So when Boo kills Ewell, the sheriff must decide whether to lie or to arrest Boo. But at the end, he decided to call the incident an accident that Ewell fell on his knife. So the decision to be made struggle for the sheriff. So he arrested Boo, and it would have been like killing a mockingbird. Another conflict happens is between man and society. So it is between Atticus versus racism in Macomb. So a prime example of man versus society is when Atticus agreed to defend Tom Robinson. Members of the town feel that Atticus should not defend Tom because he is black and the novel is set in time of racial discrimination. So Atticus is looked upon poorly, threatened, and even harassed for being Tom's lawyer. Okay. The last conflict is happened between man versus man. So it is between Bob Ewell versus Boo. So at the conclusion of the novel, or at the end of the novel, Ewell goes after Scout and Jem on their way home. To save them, Boo leaves his house and kills Ewell in a fight. Okay, so these are the three different conflicts in a story. Okay, the point of view: To Kill a Mockingbird is written in the first person with Sean Scout Finch acting as both the narrator and the protagonist of the novel. So because Scout is only 6 years old when the novel begins and 8 years old when it ends, she has an unusual perspective that plays an important role in the works, meaning in some ways she is so young. So Scout um, becomes a reliable narrator because her innocence causes her to misunderstand and misinterpreted things. Let's now come to the themes in this very relevant novel in the American literature. So the novel To Kill a Mockingbird's core themes are good versus evil, racial discrimination and justice, class difference, racism, bravery, etc. So To Kill a Mockingbird is actually a very powerful story that conveys meaningful and important themes. So it is an exploration of human morality and presents a constraint conversation regarding the inherent goodness or evilness of people. That's why racial discrimination, injustice, class difference, racism were very evident at that time. Were very evident in the novel where Harper Lee created or written. Moving on. So these are the list of some literary devices used by the author in writing her novel To Kill a Mockingbird. So we have allegory, allusion, foreshadowing, hyperbole, irony, metaphor, simile, paradox, and symbolism. So the writing style, let's now come to the writing style. The style of To Kill a Mockingbird is generally humorous and conversational, but also deceptively sophisticated, which reflects the mix of straightforward storytelling and complicated ideas. To Kill a Mockingbird is written in the first person with Jin or Sean Scout Finch acting as both the narrator and the protagonist of the novel. Because Scout is only 6 years old when the novel begins and 8 years old when it ends, she has an unusual perspective that plays an important role in the work's meaning. So the language that Harper Lee used in her novel is very realistic and accurate. It portrays what life was like in a small rural community like Maycomb in the southern states of America in 1930. So the children used colloquial language. You would expect, diba? You would read and heard while they were talking to their friend and family. So some of the Harper Lee's writing style is mainly realistic and quite straightforward, but she is also able um, to use it and deliver when it's necessary. Diba? She actually used to incorporate language to somehow create tension and suspense when needed. So she uses figurative languages like similes, metaphors, personifications, imagery, symbolism, and other to somehow create image in her reader's mind. Next. Okay, let's now come to the literary theory or philosophy used by the author in her novels. So in Harper's Lee novel, To Kill a Mockingbird, a literary theory called New Historicism is used. What do you mean by New Historicism? So New Historicism asserts that a work of literature is influenced not only by its author's period of time and circumstances, but also by the critic's environment, thought, and preconception. A new historian's view of literature in a broader historical perspective considers both how the writer's times influence the work and how the work reflects the writer's periods, while also acknowledging that modern cultural factors shape the critic's reasoning. So the new historicism actually widened the discussion of literature, which include social, the political, and the historical context in which it was created. So new historicists actually some examine literature with other cultural objects from a given historical period to show how ideas, attitudes, and ideologies manifested themselves over a period or over a broader cultural spectrum that is not solely literary. So, in short, the writer uses the political and social perspective of the author to see what happened during that time, which really depicted effectively in her novel. Okay, conclusion. To Kill a Mockingbird was discovered to use a variety of literary strategies, all of which contributed to the novel's current relevance. Allegory, allusion, foreshadowing, hyperbole, irony, metaphor, paradox, rhetorical questions, simile, and symbolism were among the literary methods employed. Aside from that, the novel's qualities such as characters and characterization, setting, conflict, point of view, storyline, and topic were examined in this study. This novel's literary style was mostly light-hearted and conversational, but it was also deceptively sophisticated, reflecting the mix of straightforward storytelling and complex ideas. It was also discovered that the literary philosophy or theory utilized in this literature was new historicism. Most importantly, this novel had an impact on the world, causing people to seek justice, which is how it came to an end. So Harper Lee used a variety of literary strategies and theory according to the study to make the work powerful in the society. So the novel's various literary elements were also examined in this article. Harper Lee has made a significant contribution to American literature. So the work continues to speak to new generation about tolerance and justice as a forceful declaration of the civil rights movement. Lee was actually awarded by the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President George M. Bush in 2007 for her big contribution in the American literature and in the American society. Thank you, everyone. That's all for my presentation. Good afternoon again.